Thank you for joining Dr. James, Rini, and I, the Curiosity Conduit, Dana Ortiz, for a look behind the curtain of Letting Destiny Deliver. Dr. Rini is a practicing psychotherapist for the last 46 years, and I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 26 years experience, and I'm now a psychology student. Dr. Rini's book, Letting Destiny Deliver, is available in digital format on Amazon and in audio version on his Mental Stock YouTube channel. We are in chapter 2 now, which is the mind and body. We are going to talk about 2 dimensions of consciousness. This conversation may lead to feelings of inspiration and curiosity, and it could also create some inner movement. That's all welcome. Life will reveal your destiny through all opportunities you keep yourself available for. So allow yourself to stay open, and let's see what destiny delivers. First, I'd like to go over what we have broken down over the last 5 recordings and learned. So, we have learned that you possess an inner core populated by higher and lower instincts, that the consciousness, which is influenced by instincts and acquired knowledge, must find a way to express and fulfill the needs of the inner core. Consciousness must see to it that the important wants, needs, and desires of the inner core are recognized and satisfied in a way that nurtures self-development. We now know the conscious mind rejects what is foreign, and since this information is no longer foreign, it will be easier to hear the necessary information for our self-health. I want to take a moment to mention that there will be times when information is discussed. Again, this is for 2 purposes. 1, because there's a lot of information being thrown at you, and it must be presented many times at different times for the best possible understanding and retention of information. And 2, all information being discussed is integrative. This means that it all works together. So let's get started here. Dr. Rini, what are the 2 dimensions of consciousness?
Conscious and unconscious are the two dimensions of consciousness, and together they make up a whole consciousness. And I want to say something that I think might be helpful, that being unconscious isn't a lack of awareness. Being unconscious is a different form of awareness. Because a lot of times people think if they're unconscious, there's an absence of awareness. So it's a different awareness than conscious awareness. Like a soft drink can be a cola or an uncola, but they're still both soft drinks.
So what's the difference between unconscious and subconscious?
Really no difference.
There's no difference, okay.
I mean, some would argue one's closer to conscious awareness, the other is deeper, but they're both unconscious.
So they can be used interchangeably when being discussed.
Yes.
And it would still be accurate. Okay.
So the 2 dimensions of consciousness give us basically 360 degrees of awareness. Because we have eyes that can only see, we have ears that can only hear. But together they give us an audio-visual experience. So the conscious mind has the things it's aware of, the unconscious has the things it's aware of, and together, if they are together, create stereoscopic vision.
That sounds nice. Okay, so your book discusses how satisfying the needs of the inner core is rather complex and difficult. So why is it complex and difficult to satisfy the needs of the inner core?
Well, many reasons. One is because society encourages us to do things that prevent us from expressing the inner core. For example, Sigmund Freud believed that human nature in and of itself was dark and therefore should be repressed. And society has taken that on, especially religions, because there's sins and there are things you're not allowed to do, and if you do them, so and religion, not to pick on religion, but it is their point of view that man is bad in nature, and that's why you need religion and all these things to keep man from expressing being bad. When really it's not either good or bad, it's who we are, and that needs to be expressed, because if it's not, then it becomes symptoms in our functioning. You know, fire can be used to burn a house down. It can be used to cook your food. Fire in and of itself is not bad. It's how you use it. So that's one of the reasons it's hard to do that. Secondly, we have become so externally focused that people don't know how to tune into their inner core, to their self. You know, you ask somebody how they feel and they go, I don't know.
Just desensitized, numb, you know.
And disinterested, because they don't go, I don't know, but that's really a good question. Let me think about it.
Well, do you think that disinterest can come from overstimulation?
Misdirected stimulation. See, because again, we entertain people in a way that is built for the masses. And a lot of that, again, is just stimulation. It's entertainment, okay? And in this case, we want people's attention, because if we have somebody's attention, we're going to make money off of that. So that's all, you know, monetary. It's all, and that's what drives everybody. That's what drives everything. How can we monetize this? You know,
Sex and money.
and
Sex and money.
Right, and people haven't learned how to monetize personality and individuality and tuning into. I mean, there's meditation and other things, but it's meditation isn't seen as tuning into, and you can't be just specialized times. You want that unconscious awareness to flow into consciousness all the time, and that's what you're tuning into, is that stream that's always flowing unconsciously. Like Carl Jung there has a quote that he goes, people like to say I'm wise or a sage. He goes, I'm not. He goes, all I did was dip my hat into a stream, but you have to stoop a little in order to dip your hat into the stream. And that stream is that unconscious, and, you know, the personal unconscious, the collective unconscious. And to stoop means you got to, you know, let your ego deflate a little bit, be a little more humble, be a little less egocentric,
which is so difficult for people to do.
Right. And it's not the popular thing to do. It's not even in people's thoughts. So they don't even know they don't know. And so those are some of the general reasons that it's hard for people to fulfill the needs of their inner core. People still do that because they're individuals and they aren't dependent on external world to tell them how to walk and talk and chew gum.
So you mentioned unconscious mind and conscious mind automatically blend together naturally. It is mentioned that they are sometimes cooperating with each other and sometimes competing for control. I'm sure you've been around the block a time or two doing this for 46 years. What are some relatable examples of both where they're competing and cooperating with each other?
Well, something that I've heard a lot of people say, and they've heard it from other people, is that there's the the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, and they're arguing with each other or, trying to persuade the other. So that's an example where they're not working together when we're in a state of conflict. When one part of us is telling us one thing, and another part's telling another.
Oh, I have those for sure.
Okay. Well, everybody has it.
They sit right here
It's not
on my shoulders.
The goal is to resolve them, to integrate them. Integrity is we've integrated more and more of those conflicts. Okay, and we can be whole. We're not hypocrites because we're not consciously aware of one thing, yet unconsciously doing other things. Or we somehow can rationalize being a hypocrite, that it's okay, the rules don't apply to me. Okay, so a way that they're cooperating is I get a gut feeling and I listen to it. Early in my life, I discovered that I'd have these ideas, hey, I should call such and such. And I wouldn't call such and such. I wouldn't act on it because there was no logical basis for doing that. And sure enough, as things turned out, I should have called such and such. So I very quickly learned to trust that. When I worked at a shoe store, I was wanting to get a store of my own, become a manager. And in that way, when I started graduate school, I could be in charge of my schedule, because I was the manager. And at the same time, I had a friend who managed the Winn-Dixie, and he offered me a job stocking shelves that paid more than the job I had presently. So anyway, this bigwig from Chicago came down, and I basically told him that I wanted a store or I'd have to leave. And he goes, well, we'll get you a store, but that takes time. We just can't abracadabra produce a store, So anyway, I'm having this dialogue with my mom, and we get into this heated conversation that, you can't trust these people, you've worked there 2 years, you've seen how they run people around, this guy, it's a sure thing, I think you ought to take that, so on and so forth. And I said to my mom, no, I get the feeling that he was being honest and sincere with me. So I'm going to go with that. And sure enough, I got offered a store like in a month or short period thereafter. So in that case, I trusted my gut rather than the logic that somebody was presenting me. And my mother, being the wonderful person that she was, came up to me later because you were right and I was wrong. So that's where they're cooperating. The natural state of how they influence each other. I like to use this analogy, and these are in the book, but anyway, there is no such thing as moonlight, right? Why is that?
No, go ahead and explain.
Because the moon is just a rock in a sense. It has no energy. It doesn't generate energy. The moon is reflected sunlight. Okay, but when the moon is its brightest, we don't even see the sun. Okay, in the same way with the unconscious, a lot of what we say and think is really a reflection of what's going on unconsciously. But because we're not aware, we have this silent partner that we're not really aware of. We don't give the unconscious any credit for that.
And I think this is where it had confused me at one point, and I could see where it would be confusing for others. You're talking about this partner. It's two, but one.
No, it's two.
But
it is.
But we are one person. So
we're not one-brained.
Okay, so
it's just like we're not one-eyed.
So go into that. What do you mean by that?
One brain is the right brain. One, and the other's the left.
The heart is unconscious. Not the brain.
But that's important.
The mind's though.
But the mind is a human phenomena that gives us the ability to think. The mind has the ability to think about itself. Nothing else has that ability. Your hand can't think about itself. Your foot can't think about itself. But the mind can think about itself. Okay? And that ability, playing back to your question, what was your question again?
No, when I was saying we were talking about two minds, one person, like how is this? Because you were saying
because of the brain, yes, because the brain is in charge of everything. Okay, and the mind is a unique feature of being human that no other species has, no other living thing has, at least that we've encountered so far. And I lost the question again.
well, I think you.
Okay, why the importance to explain the question with the brain is because that's where conscious and unconscious come from. And we basically have two chips in our brain, two processing units that are connected by a cable. That cable allows them to talk to each other. Okay, if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can't connect to your Bluetooth. Okay, so that and those two brains are opposite, but they also are yin and yang in a psychological and information processing sense. But together they can make a whole, or they can be in conflict with each other because they are opposite in how they see things. Men and women are opposites, yet they have to form a relationship. And it's through that relationship that they then form a greater unity or whole, or not. Because we get to know each other and understand each other.
So can the unconscious mind talk?
It cannot. Okay, the speech articulation centers are on the left side of the brain, which is the conscious mind. Okay, the unconscious understands language, but it can't talk. That's why people who've had a stroke on the left side or of aphasic, they can't talk. They can still understand language, but they can't talk because those speech articulation centers in the brain have been damaged. The unconscious talks more through, again, the opposites. It's the tone of voice. It's the gestures. Okay, it's in
Physiological. Or with the body.
And the body, physiological. Okay, that's why people, they talk about something and they can feel themselves getting upset, or maybe they get lightheaded as they talk. So yes, the unconscious is the body, communicates those ways. But see, we have not been taught to see those as means of communication. Only words. You know, obviously tone of voice is there, but we say it's not what you said, it's how you said it.
Right.
And that's sort of speaking to tone, but tone is unconscious. You know, because somebody go, oh, you're yelling. No, I'm not yelling at you. So obviously it's unconscious.
Sometimes, I mean, you can also do it consciously.
Well, you can be denying that you're yelling, but a lot of times the person, I mean, I've seen people and the guy's not yelling, but they're being accused of yelling.
But they're just passionate.
Well, it's not even anything like that. They're talking kind of in a normal voice, really, but they're heard as yelling. And it's not just one thing. I've seen it time and time again. And the other person is genuine, I would assume, and they're hearing it that way. You know, the conscious mind is objective. The unconscious is subjective, as we've talked about.
Okay. So I'm going to read a portion of your book, and it says, "It is of great consequence for self-health that the two minds form a cooperative relationship in which they share the same goal in steering consciousness. This cooperation is best achieved when the unconscious is understood by the conscious mind and considered a valued partner." What does that mean?
Well, that's a lot. When you ask me about that.
Well, and really, when I'm looking at this,
well, I can answer the question. I don't necessarily mean that. Okay, when you ask the question, form a cooperative relationship, when you're dancing, you don't want two left feet. Okay? And when you're dancing, you don't want to think about every step that you're taking.
No.
Okay. You want it to be fluid. You want it to flow. But at first, you have to learn. You have to consciously think about what you're doing.
Yes.
And then when you learn it, it flows. That's an example of a cooperative relationship. Okay. So let's say I don't like conflict consciously. Therefore, I avoid conflict. But conflict is necessary to truly steer your consciousness, because if you're avoiding consciousness, you're avoiding taking responsibility for your own self-health. Okay? So I could set a goal where, okay, I'm going to host and honor, what is emerging in me and what I need to speak. So I make that my goal. So I'm steering the conscious mind is then in a cooperative relationship with the unconscious, because the unconscious needs to express that. If you don't express it verbally, it's going to come out in headaches, problems sleeping, other kinds of physiological problems, because again, the unconscious communicates through the body. I'll give you this story if you let me.
I will let you.
Of this psychiatrist who got this psychiatrist practiced therapy, not giving out medication. And he was referred this patient because he had this reputation for being able to do amazing things. But anyway, this gentleman had a swollen upper lip. And he'd been to doctor after doctor. They could find no cause for it. He was given all kinds of medications that wouldn't get rid of it. So they figured it was psychological. And so they referred him to this psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist very quickly figured out what the problem was. And the problem was his father was so authoritative that the boy never really stood up to him. And now he was a young man in his 20s. He wanted to get married. And his father told him, I don't think you should get married because I think it'll interfere with your professional career. And he was a horn player. He was a musician, which his father trained him and forced him to be since he was a child, And Dr. Erickson saw the swollen lip as the thing that the unconscious was communicating. Young man was not able to tell his father what he needed to tell him. And he finally got the young man to see that connection. And he told him, if you go tell your father, hey, I'm old enough, I need to run my own life, your father will see that and understand it and back off, And the young man did that, and his father agreed with him, and the swelling in his lip went down. I'll tell you what the doctor named the case. None of your lip.
Stop it. That's something I would do.
But it's true. The reason the lip was swollen is because the young man did not tell his father what he needed to tell. So the swollen lip was an unconscious communication. And one of the things the unconscious does is it puns. So it's very punny to call it none of your lip.
I do love a good pun. Okay, so in really thinking about just a visual representation of the valued partner portion and
well, it's there, and it can work for you or against you. And not acknowledging the elephant in the room doesn't make the elephant non-existent.
This is true.
Okay.
That poor elephant.
And to be mentally healthy, we need to assimilate what is unconscious in us.
So would it be correct to say that if the conscious mind recognizes, understands, and considers the unconscious mind a valued partner, that this could turn into a beautiful relationship? Is that accurate to say?
Yes, but how do you get to know your partner? You see, you have to be taught, you have to learn, you have to be open and receptive. You have to commit a lot of time and energy to it. So that's the thing. The partner right now is unknown. It's a total stranger to people. So much a stranger that it's not going to come to mind very often.
So somebody, if this was their first recording that they heard, what would you tell them to do to start today? I mean, I know I would say, hey, start being curious. What would you say?
I'd say I want to learn everything I can about the unconscious.
Go dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, if I meet somebody new, don't I want to dive in and learn everything about them?
Maybe you, sure. Maybe. Well, then the answer would be yes. It would be you.
Where are you from? What do you like? Are you married? Do you have a good job? There's certain select things that you want to learn about them, but have you been married before? Do you have children?
Oh, now you're talking about like somebody, just a friend, somebody you might off the street?
Someone you're getting to know, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody, if you're looking, those questions come up in any new relationship somewhere along the way.
Sure.
But you're talking about a partner here, and a partner is something, relationships are something you have to work at. You have to put in the effort, the conscious effort. You have to have the curiosity.
I love the curiosity portion.
And if you have a good relationship, you're fascinated by that person.
I would agree with that for sure.
And that fascination maintains your interest in that person.
Absolutely. Okay. So we're near the end. Was there anything additional you would like to add?
I would.
Okay, go for it.
I like the way you interpret my work.
Oh. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed interpreting your work. Hopefully I'm doing it justice.
Like I said, you do an excellent job.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining Dr. Rini and I on this journey behind the curtain of letting destiny deliver. Join us next time as we will be going deeper on this journey into the conscious and unconscious when discussing the metaphorical comparison to the sun and moon. Now, I want to ask you, and you can ask yourself, what part of your life might destiny be trying to speak through right now? Keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, destiny isn't something you chase. It's something you allow. Until next time, be well.